that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Energy Week for the 8th of October. And we start this week on the 1st of October, reporting the news of energy and climate change. I go through news every day, and I keep track of what I find. Post links to 10 to 15 articles, usually 15 articles, as a matter of fact, every day to my blog, which is geoharvey.com. And you can go there and you can find the stuff that we're going to be talking about. If you click on the calendar for the date that we are talking about, you'll find about 15 articles, and they will should include the one we're talking about. We're going to start on the 1st of October.
Well, some of them are really worth looking at.
Yeah, some of these are
I'll try
pretty
and
good.
Notify you of them because
Yeah.
you can spend some very useful time reading some of these.
Some of them you could, yeah, that's absolutely true. And also, if you want to do it a different way, you can go to BCTV. Is our material is posted to YouTube. BCTV. It has links that go to a website that Tom and I use to prepare for the show, so you can go kind of see what I call the script, although it isn't a script really. And also, there's a file that I upload that has the same thing that you can download. So we're going to start.
So if you click on the link, the original article should come right up.
Correct.
And 99 times out of 100 it does.
Well, yeah, you were having trouble with one at
it just would not open.
BBC. I couldn't duplicate your problem.
Yeah.
It may be that other people will. We'll get to that. It was a good article. It had a very nice
Well,
picture.
I got your copy.
Yeah.
I use that.
It
so
had a
I
very
still
nice
have the
picture
meat.
of a wolf in it.
Huh?
It had a good picture of a wolf.
Yeah.
The face of a wolf with snow on it,
Yeah,
which
it
I
did.
didn't use for the show, but the picture that I did use for the show is still pretty good. Okay, we're starting with an article on the 1st of October from PV Magazine USA, and there is a picture of this, which
Well, let's put
Tom
the
could
picture
put
up
up
quickly.
if he decides to do that.
Picture of the floor
There you go.
Of the factory at General Motors.
Yeah, that is a General Motors factory in China, by the way.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the Chinese are taking over everything. That's because of Donald Trump's trade war. Okay.
It doesn't matter that it's cheaper for American industry to buy stuff from China than it is to make it themselves.
Well, there are a bunch of problems with international trade. When you start fooling with international trade,
Yeah.
weird things happen. But the trade war, the taxes that Donald Trump put on stuff that's being imported to the United States, we pay for that.
Yeah.
We pay those taxes.
He doesn't.
The thing is, the reason why you would do that is to retaliate for things that they're doing, and it would mean that they would have fewer exports. But the Chinese are exporting all over the world. They don't have to worry about the United States.
I don't think so.
Man,
I don't think
I mean,
so.
they've got the electric bus production basically monopolized.
Oh, absolutely. And we've talked about that on the show.
And
going to
now
continue talking
upwards
about
of
it.
50% of buses made worldwide are electric because they're so cheap to run. And
It makes sense.
yeah, and China is
There's almost zip maintenance.
yeah, China is making out, as they say, like bandits when it comes to electric bus sales, and they have 98% of them. Okay, as I
Let's
said,
move
this is
along
from
here.
PV Magazine USA. And you said something about General Motors.
Well, what it says is General Motors to achieve 60% renewable energy thanks to a massive Arkansas solar deal.
This is kind of a surprise, isn't it?
Yeah.
GM announced a significant step toward achieving its goal of sourcing 100% of energy from renewables by 2040. The company has signed a power purchase agreement for 180 megawatts of solar power that is set to be built in Arkansas.
Let's put that into perspective. 180 megawatts.
Yeah.
Now, we have here in town on Ferry Road a solar array.
Yeah, which
It's 5 megawatts.
5 megawatts. It was the biggest solar array in Vermont at one time.
I think it still is.
No, I think there's one that's 20.
20, huh?
Yeah,
Wow.
but still, 100. I don't know where in the eastern half of the United States you would find 180 megawatts of solar at one site.
Takes up
Maybe
too
there
much
is.
real estate.
It takes up a lot of real estate. Yeah, Arkansas real estate is cheaper than Vermont real estate.
Well, we got another picture coming
We
up.
do
got
indeed.
some wind turbines.
In China, of all places. And what do we have for a title for this? It comes from the BBC.
The world has started to take climate change fight seriously.
With a question mark. Has the world? The announcement by Chinese President Xi Jinping that China would cut emissions to net zero by 2060 is enormously important. China, the biggest greenhouse gas emitter, may have fired the starting gun on what will become a global race to eliminate fossil fuels.
Interesting phrase there, a global race to eliminate fossil.
I
And that's what's happening.
thought that exact same thing.
And it's not happening so much because of weeping over the climate. It is because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
This is a very good article, by the way. This is one that you should look up.
Yes, I agree.
Well,
And
what do I have here? China is putting out more than a quarter of the global greenhouse gas emissions.
China has a very large population.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we're number 2.
huh?
We're in the U.S. number 2.
With nowhere near as large a population.
No.
In terms of emissions per capita, the United States is far more emissions than China.
Well, China is planning to cut back to zero within 40 years.
Yeah, and the United States has got no plan.
Plan?
At least not a current plan. The only plan we had was what came up under Barack Obama, and whatever was there, the Trump administration
Threw it out the window.
Yeah, been throwing out the window. Absolutely.
Well, let's move on here.
We have an article from Clean Technica. I've heard of them.
Talking again about Tesla. Well, first
Yes.
time this show.
Yeah.
Tesla will begin selling Chinese Model 3 with LFP batteries.
Yeah,
And then I'll explain what LFP
yeah.
is.
It took me a little. It took me a little bit. I actually had to look up what LFP was.
Yeah, so did I.
And it is what we've been calling LiFePO₄.
It's lithium, ferrous, F is iron.
That's right.
And it's oxide or phosphate.
Phosphate. Confidential sources tell Reuters that Tesla will begin selling Model 3 cars built in Shanghai and equipped with LFP, which is LiFePO₄, batteries to customers in China this week. Lithium iron phosphate, which is lithium ferrophosphate, technically, batteries contain no nickel and no cobalt.
That's significant.
It is. And the batteries have got really good characteristics, too. They don't overheat. You can draw them way down. I think you can draw them down to zero.
They were recharged quickly.
And they recharge quickly. These are, I think, in many ways, maybe not always, but in many ways superior to the lithium-ion batteries that we have around now.
No, that's pretty much what the article says.
The prices have not been announced.
Well, from the article, nickel and cobalt are 2 of the most costly components of regular conventional batteries. And it suggests that the price of the Model 3 may drop. Okay?
Because they're getting this is an indication of where we are in technology. We're at a point where the technology improves, and because of that, the price drops.
Well, LFP batteries cost about 10% less, and they seem to be better batteries in every way.
They seem to be better batteries. The editor of Green Energy Times, Nancy Ray Mallory, she's been off grid for a long, long time.
Yeah, you've talked about her.
She has a very nice solar array. She's basically living like a normal American. I don't think she's got an electric dryer, but basically she's living a normal kind of life, but she's off grid. And part of the reason why she did this, or at least a reason why she could excuse herself for spending a lot of money to do what she really wanted to do 15 years ago or whenever it was, she built the house rather far from the grid.
Which costs a lot of money to hook up.
Absolutely. She priced it, and the cost of a solar array and batteries at that time, that long ago, was about the same as the price of connecting to the grid.
Okay.
So
she said, I'm going to go for the batteries.
She went for the solar and batteries. Well, she has replaced her batteries because they have run, they
got a life cycle.
She had lead acid batteries to begin with.
Okay.
So they were going to last for 5 years or something.
Yeah.
I think she's on her third set of batteries, but she got LiFePO₄ batteries, and she absolutely loves them.
Uh-huh.
So there you go.
Very interesting.
Yeah, right.
But strange.
Okay. What's that?
But strange.
But strange. Yeah.
Well, we got a lovely picture here coming up of our leader, our illustrious leader.
And his wife.
And his lovely wife.
And they...
In case you don't recognize them, that's Donald and Melania.
Yeah, that's correct. And this is from the BBC. Could have been
Well,
from
it's a little bit stale news already, but it's news.
Oh,
Coronavirus. Donald Trump and Melania test positive.
What day is this? This is Friday. Friday morning I put this up, which means that this came out at the BBC. This came out at the BBC on Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a week old.
But it's a week old. It may have come out Friday at 1 a.m. or something like this, but it was basically Thursday news. U.S. President Donald Trump said he and First Lady Melania Trump have tested positive for coronavirus and are now in quarantine. Remember, they were in quarantine. And
yes,
he's not acting like it anymore. The president, aged 74 and therefore in a high-risk group, announced in a news tweet, "We will get through this together." This is something that has just, it's not appalling to me that he got this. The way that he was behaving before he got it told me, well, this guy is really playing with fire here because
absolutely.
He's acting like he's immune.
But a hoax is not going to put me in bed.
Absolutely. He was at a big shindig in Bedminster, New Jersey, where people were paying, $50,000 just to get in the door or onto the lawn or whatever it was, the day before.
Yeah.
And I don't understand for a moment how he could not have known that he had been in contact with people who had COVID-19. He should have been in isolation.
He may have known it and just ignored it or denied it.
Which means, that to me, if you ignore this and you go to a thing like that because it's going to be good for your fundraising for your political career, that strikes me as just crazy indifference to the lives and health of other people.
Well, there's a quick takeaway here.
Yeah.
A week ago, Trump told Americans not to worry about COVID-19 because, quote, it affects nobody. And the next day, he's going to the hospital.
Yeah.
He's out of the hospital now, and this also comes from the article. It is not clear how Mr. Trump's health will affect arrangements for the second presidential debate on October 15th.
He's backed out of the second presidential debate.
It's things are coming out now about it. He's not going to participate unless
it's in person, which means that he's going to be throwing Joe Biden into danger, along with everybody else in the studio. I'm sorry. We should be talking about energy and not Donald Trump, but I don't see how you can avoid talking about Donald Trump if you want to save the world.
At least this week.
Oh. And he's behaving as though it's just not an issue.
Let's move on.
Yes, let's get away from that. We have a picture coming up, and we have an article from Clean Technica, and I'm sorry that I'm getting off on Donald Trump.
And there's a picture, and that is a large solar project.
This is a big
That's
solar
about as big as Windham County.
It may be bigger. I don't know.
That's 2,200 megawatts.
That's 2.2 gigawatts.
Ferry Road is 5 megawatts.
Yeah, that's 2.2 gigawatts.
Absolutely. 22 bigawatts.
Gigawatts.
China's largest solar plus storage project goes online.
Yeah, China's largest solar plus storage project has been connected to the grid. How big? It's 2.2 gigawatts, which means bigawatts. Sungrow, the number one supplier of inverters for renewable energy projects, shared the news of the new record. The project was developed by Huang He I don't know how to pronounce Chinese.
We'll give you a buy on that.
Hydropower project, development rather.
Well, this is an interesting article. Alongside the massive solar park,
Yeah.
there's a 200 megawatt hour energy storage plant.
This is not trivial.
And an 800 kV power line.
Yeah, this is not trivial.
For sure.
Now,
And this is a good takeaway. Solar tech keeps improving and coming down in price, and new solar records are being set.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of hard to equate this to, for example, a nuclear power plant or something. But solar power is
they follow different criteria.
They do. But the amount of energy you get out of a solar plant of a gigawatt is going to be probably 20%, 25% of what you would get out of a nuclear plant of the same size. So this is going to be its same capacity, is what I mean. So this is going to be like a nuclear...
They're working on trying to get the sun to shine at night.
Yeah. This is going to be like a nuclear plant of about 500 megawatts.
Okay.
A little bit smaller, maybe the same size as Vermont Yankee. Okay, should we go on?
Alongside the massive solar park. Well, I read this already.
You did.
I read this already. So let's look at a picture of a car.
Let's look at a picture. This is a VW ID3.
Cute little car.
Yeah, it looks like an ordinary car, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? It looks very ordinary.
Well, there is one weird thing about it. It's kind of a weird blue color. Blue-green.
September in Norway goes off the charts.
Yeah, this is true. It is off the charts. Electric vehicle pioneer Norway saw a massive 81.6% plug-in electric vehicle market share of the overall market in September, with almost 62% being pure electric vehicles. The best sellers included the VW ID3, Tesla 3, and Polestar 2. So 4 out of 5 cars in Norway, better than 4 out of 5, that were sold were plug-in vehicles.
Well, Norway is a little different from the rest of us. They have a disincentive to buy internal combustion.
Yeah.
It's heavily taxed.
Yeah.
Okay, so right off the bat, people are going to gravitate toward electricity.
People in the United States don't really understand, I think, how taxation works in other parts of the world. And
we don't understand how taxation works here.
Yeah.
Very simple. If you make a lot of money, you don't pay tax.
Yeah, I think that's how it works. When I was in the UK, which was 62, so this was 58 years ago. Admittedly, that was a little while ago, but I'm told that taxation is just as bad now as it was then.
It probably is.
A lot of families, and I don't think this is true anymore, but in those days, a lot of families were driving 3-wheeled vehicles.
Were they?
Yeah, a lot of them. And a lot of families
for a reason
had cars that were not cars. They were actually vans.
Motorcycles?
They were vans.
Vans. Oh,
Yeah.
vans. Okay.
And the reason, it was the same thing as the miniskirt. Why did the miniskirt come into existence? It was not to show off the girl's legs.
Oh?
No, it was because children's garments didn't have a tax. Adult garments did. And the way you define the taxable, whether a skirt is taxable or not, is how long is it. So if you made the skirt long enough to fit a 6-year-old, it didn't matter what the waist or hips were.
Yeah.
It was a low tax. So
Sneaky.
well, the same thing with these vehicles. The reason why the vehicles were 3-wheel and vans and things like that was because the taxes were lower.
So they fit a loophole.
Yeah, and the taxes in the UK were outrageous. Outrageous. So, and they still are. My daughter lives in Scotland. She says they're as bad now as they were then, but I don't know whether that's really true. Okay, should we move on, or do you have more?
Yeah, we got another picture coming up.
We have a picture, and we're up to Saturday, October 3rd. We forgot to tell you that it was Friday.
The return of Europe's largest beasts.
Beasts.
So let's see one of the beasts.
Well, let's see one of the beasts. Let's get this computer. There we go, operating the way it's supposed to. Okay.
And there's one of the beasts.
There's one of the beasts. There were other pictures with this article. One was two bison butting heads, and it was a close-up. And another one was a beautiful picture of a wolf taken so close that you...
That was a nice picture.
That was a
really
nice
nice
picture. You could see the individual hairs on this animal's face, and you couldn't see the full width of his head because he took up the whole picture.
Yeah, that was a
But
heck
he
of a
had
nice
snow on
picture.
his head, and it was a beautiful picture. I don't think I'd
Well,
want
there was
to.
one other picture in here. Is a picture that they described as an elk.
Yes,
It was a moose.
yes. Well, and they do have moose in Europe, but I think the Europeans might actually call them elk. I might be wrong about that. I know there
It's
are
a
words.
possibility.
I know there are words that we use in
It's
the
a
United States, and they
possibility.
use them for different
Because it
things.
definitely was what we would call a moose.
Yeah, this
But
is a
I wasn't aware
bison.
that they had bison in Europe.
Well, they do, but they don't call them buffalo.
No,
No, I don't think so. I had an acquaintance once who shot a moose on a hunting trip about 30 miles from Moscow.
wow,
Yeah.
that's getting pretty
It was
close to
charging him, and he shot it with a 12-gauge shotgun, and he said it just buckled, and then it flipped completely over and wound up on its lying at his feet.
Wow, still charging him.
I don't know, but he was unscathed, but the moose was dead. So
This is a long and interesting article.
Very
This is
interesting
worth
article.
looking at.
it is a very interesting article. Did you read the title of this? It's from the BBC.
The return of Europe's largest beasts.
Populations of bison and wolf are reviving in parts of Europe, with efforts to return to some of the landscape to a more natural state. A new method of conservation aims to let large areas return to wilderness to a state without human intervention, but it can be tricky to manage that. Large beasts are not always welcome.
Well, the article centers on Germany,
Yeah,
and it says the goal is to return 2% of the surface area of Germany to a wilderness state,
yeah.
which is going to take some doing.
It's going to take some doing.
So rewilding proponents believe it can help protect our ecosystems from climate change.
Well, it will help.
It's certainly not going to hurt.
I would think that it would be nice to see much more than 2% saved, but
Well, it's pretty well industrialized over there.
pretty well, pretty
So
heavily.
large herbivores such as bison maintain open grassland space by grazing on young trees.
Did I tell you that I saw a bear over on Canal Street?
I don't think you did.
Yeah, I was over on Canal Street, and this is a couple of years ago. I was walking along with Tad Montgomery, and we went. Tad wanted to show me something that had to do with the Canal Street School, and so we walked behind the school and into the parking lot, and there was a bear in the parking lot.
Well, that can happen here.
Yeah, it can, and it's not the first time. I'm sure it won't be the last. And what happened was I called the police, as did some other people, because I wasn't the only person who saw it. And they showed up in a few minutes, and they had a bunch of police cars with a bunch of police officers.
They all wanted to see the bear.
They all pulled out shotguns
Oh, wow.
and walked into the woods to try to corral that bear. The shotguns were for self-defense in case the bear attacked them.
Yeah.
They did not want to shoot that bear,
Okay.
and they walked the bear out of town.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. But it's like when I saw that wolf, I said to myself, what do you do? What do you say when you're confronted by a wolf?
Hi, Wolf.
Yeah, right. Help.
That's about all you can say.
Yeah, right. And I had a neighbor when I lived in New Hampshire, just across the river from us, who said that he saw a wolf in his backyard. And this guy knew something about wolves. So he might have
You know, it
been right.
wasn't a German Shepherd.
No, this was not a German Shepherd. He knew the difference between a wolf and a German Shepherd. Okay, we should move on, Tom, unless you've got more to say about
Oh, I
that.
think we should. I think
We have
I've read-
an exquisite photograph for this.
We
next
got an
one.
interesting picture
This
here.
is a
coming up.
really interesting picture.
This
Look at
is
that.
called a water spout.
That's a
Now,
water.
a water
spout.
spout is like a wet tornado.
It's a wet tornado, and you can see right through it at the base. You
Climate change is responsible for record sea temperature levels. Well,
can-
if you
Oh, boy.
watch this show, I think
and now
you'd
we've
know
got
that.
Hurricane Delta hitting.
They
about
ran
to
out
hit.
of all of the women's names.
We ran out. Well, they weren't all women's names.
No, there were men's names in there.
There
too,
were- yeah. But Hurricane Delta is about to hit Louisiana. And where's it going to hit? It's going to hit Cameron Parish.
Which has already been hit.
Which has already been hit 4 times this year. Which, by the way, was the county that had the highest percentage of Trump votes of any county in the United States. Okay, this is from Newswise.
Climate change responsible for record, I said this already.
You did indeed.
Sea temperature levels.
Yep, an unprecedented rise in sea temperatures is being driven by global warming. A major report in the peer-reviewed Journal of Operational Oceanography reveals it shows that overall trend globally of surface warming with the largest rise in the Arctic Ocean. That surface warming is what makes the hurricanes so powerful.
More moisture in the air.
There's more moisture in the air. There's more updraft because hot air rises. And the hurricanes are getting stronger, and they're getting stronger, and they're getting stronger. And, you know, there are people in Washington who are not paying attention, but there you have it.
The message is we are not doing well.
We are not doing well. And by the way,
yeah,
the numbers that I'm seeing, the scientists who predict if we go to net zero emissions, 5 years, 8 years ago, I was seeing if we went to net zero emissions right now, meaning then, it would take at least 25 years for climate change to stop going
to stabilize, yeah.
Now they're saying it'll take at least 100 years or more.
Wow.
So when we stop emitting carbon dioxide, things will continue to get worse.
For a while.
For a long while. That's what they're saying. The thing is that they will not continue to get worse as fast, and they will not get as bad. But, you know, we're acting, I don't know. We're acting like people who are on a tightrope and asking for more booze.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of what we do is controlled by entities that have a lot of wealth.
Yes.
And they use it.
And they use it.
Money is speech.
Money is speech. I agree with you, Tom.
Well, we got another one coming up. I don't think we got a picture for this one. How NextEra overtook Exxon as the largest U.S. energy company. Now, that's saying something.
Yes, and they've been kind of flipping back and forth for the last few days. NextEra, well, if you had invested in Florida-based utility NextEra Energy, now think about that for a minute. This is a utility in Florida.
But it's a big one.
It's a big utility, but it's a Florida utility.
Yep.
If you had invested, your total return would have been 600%.
That's a good return.
From a decade ago, including the dividends. By contrast, if you invested in ExxonMobil a decade ago, you would have seen a total 10-year return of negative 25%. And there are reasons for those changes.
Well, try to figure out what they are. The decline in energy caused by the pandemic crushed ExxonMobil's value.
Yeah.
Okay, ExxonMobil took a big hit. Meanwhile, NextEra has been using the cash flows from its regulated Florida power utility, which is their original entity.
Yes.
Okay, to become the largest producer of wind and solar power in the world.
Who knew?
I think they know something that a lot of people don't know.
We've actually mentioned NextEra a few times before on the show. It's just that people walk around and they talk about Tesla.
Yeah.
They even talk about ExxonMobil. When was the last time you heard NextEra coming up in a conversation?
Well, on this show you've heard it, but nobody.
People don't.
Most of the people that are watching this show have no clue what NextEra, and I had to look it up.
Well,
because I forgot.
I get the utilities confused.
Well, we got another article coming up that's related to this.
Yes, and we're up to Sunday, October 4th.
There's a picture here.
Whoops, I just
picture
lost
of a graph. Where's that picture? Come on.
Here is the picture. There it is.
There we go.
This is a fascinating graph. Absolutely fascinating.
Look at that graph there.
Well,
try to figure out look at the PV line, huh?
Yeah, okay. The PV line is the one that's kind of a yellowy color.
It's going up quickly.
Going up quickly. Are you kidding me? The gas line is the one that's on the top on the left side, and it's on the bottom on the right side. This is only...
So gas is going down.
Gas is going down. That's a decline of like 80% over a period of 6 years.
Wind is pretty much stable. It goes up and down, but
wind goes up and down. It's about
battery
where it was.
Is increasing at the very end.
Yeah,
it's
and increasing rapidly.
The PV.
Yeah. And what you're seeing here, ladies and gentlemen, is what looks like a terminal decline in natural gas. And this is a picture.
Well, it's money. It's all about profit.
This is a picture of the ERCOT queue. ERCOT is the United States has three, or the 48 states have three big grids. One of them is the Eastern grid, one of them is the Western grid, and the third grid is ERCOT, which is basically Texas. It's not exactly equal to Texas.
I have some information on that, actually.
Okay.
So the queues, this is a queue.
Yeah.
QUEUE.
This is what is coming.
And the queues track proposed new generation projects to be added to the grid. So they provide a leading indicator of market trends for new power plants.
And gas is falling to the wayside.
And ERCOT is the Electric Reliability Council of Texas.
Yeah.
And they're the grid operator.
They're the grid
They're
operators.
a nonprofit.
But what they're saying basically is here was gas that expected something around 32, 33 gigawatts to be built in October of 2014. Now they're down to about 7 gigawatts. That's a big decline.
Absolutely.
And that decline, if it continues, is going to take them to zero in a couple of years.
Well, the article states that Rocky Mountain Institute study shows that renewables are kicking natural gas to the curb. That's exactly what that picture shows.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, and why don't you read you just read the title. I'll read what comes after. This is from Clean Technica. After analyzing the most recent data from the two largest U.S. electricity markets, Rocky Mountain Institute has come to a startling conclusion. Renewables are muscling in on natural gas. What happened to coal is now happening to gas. And by the way, Tom, you know, I've talked about the coal, Dow Jones Coal Index, and you said, I'm surprised it's such
There isn't any anymore.
There isn't any anymore. They just stopped. No announcement, no explanation. I looked all over to find one. Maybe there's one out there and I missed it, but I did spend time trying to find out what happened. At noon, precisely noon, on the 18th of September, they simply stopped marking quotes on the coal index. Consol Energy, which was the only component, is still trading. The component that they were using is still there. Consol Energy happens to be at an all-time low right now.
Well, it used to be called Consolidated Coal.
Yeah, and it's not. And you know, this is the Dow Jones is just saying there's no point in this anymore.
Well, there's a takeaway from the article, and this is significant. What is needed is a move away from monopoly markets that have been the norm in the utility industry for more than 100 years and toward more competition.
And that's what's going to happen because we're going to distributed energy.
Well, when renewables compete head-to-head with thermals, they win hands down.
Every time.
And the data doesn't lie.
Yeah, and you know, you look at these LCOE charts and things like that. Solar is cheap, wind is cheap, coal is expensive, nuclear is even more expensive, and that's why
money talks.
Yeah, and well, anyway.
Well, the capacity for wind, solar, and energy projects slated for construction is 10 times greater than for new gas projects.
Yeah.
So they're seeing the message for sure.
And it just keeps going up. I've been watching this for years, literally, and the decline in natural gas is significant and has been significant for quite a while. Well, we saw it in that chart. It declined by about 80% over 6 years rather. And ERCOT was not alone in this. The rest of the United States, it was declining too. In fact, I was a little surprised that it declined so much in ERCOT because this is a region that produces natural gas.
That's interesting. That's a very interesting. Good you mention that.
Yeah. Well,
because it's significant. We got another picture coming up here.
We do indeed.
Kind of a strange little picture here.
A strange little picture. This is from Wikimedia Commons.
Oh, it's a picture of a flood.
That's
a street.
That's a street. There you go. This is a flood, and I got it from Wikimedia Commons, and this is going with an article from the BBC.
Storm Alex. Heavy rains caused severe flooding in France and Italy. And now we're on Storm Delta.
No, this is Alex is a different. They're in different naming.
Different naming structure,
which is why it's an A name. This is in the Mediterranean, Tom.
That's right. They got their own
Yeah.
naming.
This is, well, at least 2 people have died and 25 are missing after a powerful storm hit southern France and northwest Italy. Named Alex, it brought fierce winds, torrential rains. A friend of mine used to say torrential rains.
Torrential rain.
Torrential. Meteo France said that 450 millimeters, this is 17.7 inches of rain, fell in some areas in 24 hours.
That's a lot of rain.
I got to tell you, Tom, that can cause your house to flood if you live on a mountaintop. I'm not kidding. I've lived on a mountaintop.
Yeah.
17.7 inches of rain. I would expect my basement to be flooded just because of the water washing down the hill.
Yeah, right.
You know, this is 17.7 inches. That's crazy. But they're having.
Well, that's the equivalent of nearly 4 months worth of rain.
This is happening in the Mediterranean. Last week we had a different
storm. They're getting
storm.
big winds too.
Yeah, they had a different storm that hit Greece. And Mediterranean storms like this? Nah, never happened.
Never
It's a
happened.
hoax. Okay, should we go on?
Let's move on. I got a fairly nice picture here.
We do. And every time I touch this computer, it gets upset at me. Why is that, Tom? Why is it?
There we go. There's the picture.
Okay.
Well, that is not a natural fire. That is a prescribed burn.
You might say
and
that.
You can tell by watching the guys there.
Yeah, they set that fire on purpose in order to prevent bigger fires.
Federal bill could increase prescribed burns in California. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're burning the area ahead of the forest fire so that it doesn't get out of control.
Right. Fire suppression, a lack of prescribed burns, and climate change are among the top reasons behind the scale and intensity of the fires in California, experts say. A federal bill would help address those issues, or at least be a starting point. This is from Capital Public Radio News.
Well, the article's about money coming into the Forest Service for doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, they have to put money into it. This is, where Donald Trump said that the forests were a mess. He was talking about something that, there were things that could be addressed there. Of course, he was the guy who was supposed to have done them. So he's complaining about himself and pointing fingers at other people.
Come on, you're trying to put a little logic behind him.
A little logic, yeah, well. Anyway, what happens here is we already explained it.
Well, the takeaway
Tom
here,
did.
Good forest science is good climate science.
Yes. Yes, indeed. We are up to Monday, October 5th, and we have
another picture coming.
Another picture. This particular picture.
In case you don't recognize it, that's an oil platform.
That's correct.
They're drilling for oil.
Yes, they are. You can see the drill rig on there.
That's a pretty good sized one.
That's a big operation. That's right. And, it's like, if you think about a drill rig in a place like Texas, where the rig just sits there on the land, all of the money that went into building that thing is the equivalent of what they put into. I mean, this is a costly operation. Okay.
It is that, but there's money to be made.
This is from CNBC.
And it says $100 billion. Big oil divestiture plan is coming. Dun, 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 dun.
In other words, they're getting rid of stuff like what we just saw.
They're starting to realize that the money isn't there anymore, or it's not going to be there in the future.
Particularly the European oil companies and gas companies.
More so than the American guys.
Yeah, they're really starting to get interested in
BP and big time.
Shell, they're both doing it. Eni in Italy, Total in France, they're all doing it.
Yeah.
Exxon Mobil, well, what they're doing is just letting their stock take a hit.
Well, they're buying up small outfits that are going out of business because
What a crazy idea. I mean, it's like...
Well, they're getting them cheap.
Yeah, they're getting them cheap. It's like nobody's buying slide rules anymore. Let's corner the market. I happen to have a bunch of slide rules. I really enjoy them. I think they're great fun. But I wouldn't be producing them. Okay.
Well, when I was in college, everybody walked around with a slide rule at their belt.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was an art student.
They they were that era's computers.
They were, well, they are computers.
Yeah.
They happen to be not digital electronic
Well, but they are computers, yeah.
They are analog mechanical computers. but
Absolutely.
Okay, did you read the title? Oh, you did. The largest oil and gas companies, including ExxonMobil, Royal Dutch Shell, Chevron, and BP, are projected to sell a combined $100 billion in assets worldwide as they focus on top-performing regions, particularly the U.S. shale, according to a new analysis from consulting firm Rystad Energy. Why in the world would anybody be putting money into shale oil? I mean, this is I don't know.
Well, obviously they're putting money into shale oil because they think they're going to make money.
That's what they think.
That's what they think, and it isn't coming true. I mean,
Okay.
shale oil, for the most part, has been a big disappointment.
Yeah, and
They're not getting the quantities out that they ever expected.
It's not just K&E
to.
slide rules. It's Remington Rand.
Pardon?
Remington Rand typewriters, and who was the company that made the really good adding machines?
Yeah.
We can bring all of that stuff
Well,
back.
they're making computers now.
Yeah, well, some of them.
Well, the biggest
K&E
8
just
companies,
went out of business.
The biggest 8 companies may seek to exit 200 countries. Wow.
Wow.
Shedding all of the assets held in that country. They're getting out.
They're getting out. If they're smart, they're getting out. I don't think they're all smart, but okay, should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. We got another one here.
We have
coming up.
one from the BBC. It doesn't have a picture.
McDonald's among food firms urging tougher rules on deforestation. That almost doesn't make sense. It does, but it almost does.
Everybody was upset at McDonald's just a few years ago because the Amazon was being cut down to make way for cattle grazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the way that it's happening anymore. McDonald's is saying, hey, we got to stop this.
They are.
They are. UK food firms, including McDonald's. Now, I want to point out this is the UK, and this is McDonald's in the UK, and it doesn't say anything about the McDonald's in the United States. Are urging tougher rules to protect rainforests. Government ministers are planning a new law against big firms using produce from illegally deforested land. But the firms are saying the law should apply to all deforestation, legal or not, in order to slow climate change.
Well, I agree with that.
Well, this is basically saying we want you to pass a law that says that we can't buy food from Brazil or Indonesia.
In effect, that's what they're saying.
Yeah, and we'll see, how far that goes. But it's interesting that they're saying all of it. We don't care whether it's legal or not. We want it stopped.
That's what somebody's saying here, anyhow.
Well, again, we're back to the thing, but I was just following orders,
Yeah. Well, felling trees and clearing land, usually for agriculture, is estimated to be responsible for 11% of global greenhouse gas emissions.
Amazing.
Who'd have thunk?
Who'd have thunk? And
the effect on climate and on nature is the same if trees are felled legally or not.
Well, I'll tell you something. A couple of years ago, for Green Energy Times, I did an interview with an organization in New Hampshire called LEAF, L-E-F, with a macron over the E. And you can get their stuff down at the co-op. They grow lettuce and things like that. They had a 1 acre greenhouse, 1 acre, in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And they were producing 1 million pounds of food a year out of that 1 acre.
Boy, I'd bet against that one. I wouldn't figure that was possible.
They were working real hard. They had hydroponics going on. They had artificial lights in there to keep they had the place heated. They had increased levels of carbon dioxide because they had whatever they were producing. If they had heat that was producing exhaust gas, the exhaust gases were scrubbed and the carbon dioxide was going into the atmosphere. They wanted those plants to grow very, very quickly. They harvest them daily, and I have a friend who is not really happy with the idea of hydroponic farming, but says that salad at the leaf salad at the co-op is absolutely delicious. It tastes so fresh.
Well, I think to a great degree this is the future of farming.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
you're
we've
going to
seen
be
this
growing
vertical farming
vegetables in Manhattan.
in Manhattan, in old warehouses that nobody's using. You know,
Absolutely. Or underground in the abandoned subway tunnels.
Right. Okay, our next item is
And
from
we got a
Clean
picture
Technica,
here.
and that has a picture.
We got a picture.
Reminds me
here.
of a whale watch I went on when I was living down by Plymouth, Massachusetts. A friend of mine came by, and we went on a whale watch.
That's nice. A right whale and her calf.
Yeah, we saw I think it was a humpback whale. I might be wrong. The whale, the calf, and another adult.
Well, this article is basically good news.
Yeah.
Seismic blasting by oil and gas industry in the Atlantic Ocean is halting on November 30th.
Yeah, in rare good news, federal permits that allow fossil fuel companies to use deafening air guns, which may harm many marine species, will expire on November 30th and not be renewed. Fossil fuel companies use the air guns to search for oil and gas deposits.
Well, they're definitely harming the whales.
Oh, yeah.
And according to the article, they're harming a lot of species.
They're harming a lot of species, yeah.
It goes all the way down to worms.
Yeah. Although, you know, the worm lobby in Washington is not very powerful.
I think you're right.
We are up to...
Well, these sonic blasts, for what it's worth, they're fired as often as every 10 seconds for months on end.
Yeah.
So I think that would disturb you a little bit.
Well, it would make it hard to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay, we're up to
Let's
Tuesday.
move along here. We got an interesting picture of an automobile.
No, we're not. What are we up to? I'm lost here.
Tuesday, October 6th.
Yeah, there you go. I just have to find it, that's all.
We've got a
Here we
picture
go.
of a car.
We have a picture of a car. There it is.
There it is.
It's
So everybody can see
Mclaren.
the car.
And this is from Clean Technica.
That's a Honda Mclaren.
Yep.
And it says, so long, farewell, Honda to leave Formula One to focus on EVs. There's a story here, but...
Yeah. Honda has announced that it will cease to participate as an engine provider for Formula One racing series at the end of 2021 season. The automaker has decided to turn its focus to zero-emission vehicles. Honda made good a goal to electrify 2/3 of its global automobile sales in 2030.
Well, the article is more about sports than it is about technology.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because one thing that I took away from it, it really surprised me. The engines they use in these cars are really quite small.
Yeah.
A 1.6 liter V6.
Yeah.
And my car's got a 3 liter engine.
Yeah.
Almost twice the size of it.
Yeah.
But these are highly tuned engines.
Rather. You know, my brother has a car that takes, what is it, 8 quarts of oil in an oil change?
Well, you're asking me. I don't know.
I think that's what he said. It takes 8 well, it's kind of a special car. It's a 1937 Aston Martin touring car. But
oh, wow.
I'm sitting here thinking...
It's a limousine.
No, it's not a limousine. It's just a largish convertible.
It's a convertible.
Yeah.
Oh, nice car.
But I'm sitting here thinking the engines in these vehicles that they're running races on,
they're small.
Couldn't weigh much more than 8 quarts of oil.
You're probably right.
And they probably burn as much oil as my brother's car, even though they're driving at speeds that are outrageous. Okay.
Well, we touched base a little earlier on electric school buses, so there's a picture
There's
of
a picture of a school bus.
Up.
That picture was provided by Proterra, but it's not a Proterra bus. It's a bus with a Proterra drivetrain and chassis.
Oh.
It was a different company. I think it's called Thomas or something like that, which...
Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make school buses. Yeah.
Which they have a deal with Proterra, and the deal is that they will take the drive stuff from Proterra and put a school bus body on it.
Yeah, so they basically buy a chassis, or they...
Yeah, that's right. This is from Clean
that
Technica.
is an electric school bus.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, it looks like a regular school bus.
Yep.
And the article says that Newsom, who's the governor
of California,
signs a law to clean California air inside and out of school.
Right. Governor Newsom signed into law a bill that will make air safer to breathe and the water safer to drink in public schools while reducing energy bills. It also accelerates the installation of charging infrastructure for EVs to combat the largest source of air pollution, which of course is transportation, as things stand in California right now.
Well, according to the article, nuclear and renewable programs do not coexist well because of inherently different technology.
You're reading the next
That's the
article.
next one. Yeah, that's right.
We could go to it if you want.
Well, we will shortly. This bill directs funding to upgrade the heating, ventilating, and air conditioning systems in public schools.
Right.
But there's a little part of it that funds necessary electrical infrastructure for charging zero-emission vehicles. And school buses is just a perfect market for that.
Absolutely. I mean,
All day long they can sit there and charge.
yeah.
And for 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon and drive around.
It does not need a very big battery, generally speaking.
No, it's a good application for electric vehicles.
It is.
And when you think of the benefit, there's almost no maintenance.
Yeah. Okay, our next item is from Renew Economy.
And that's the one I was getting ahead of myself.
You sure were, but it's a good one.
Two is a crowd. Why renewables and nuclear don't mix, even to cut emissions.
Well, this was a study this was the one in Nature Energy was run by a bunch of publications.
Was it? Yeah.
A bunch of different people looked at this study and they had different things to say about it, all pretty much, along the same lines. Research published in Nature Energy warns that nuclear and renewables should not be combined in any recipes for effective energy system decarbonization, with the two generation types likely to crowd each other out and limit their effectiveness when mixed. And as a matter of fact, that study also indicates that nuclear is not really a good solution for climate change at all.
It does not seem to be. It doesn't. Well, it was. I'm not sure it ever was.
No, I don't think it is.
Well, from the article here, it says that nuclear and renewable programs don't coexist well because of different technologies. Okay, a grid, and we've talked about this on the show. A grid optimized for centralized power production, like we have now, which is kind of going out of style. Okay, makes it more challenging to introduce small-scale distributed renewable power, which is the way of the future.
Yes.
Okay?
I agree.
Investments in nuclear power risk suppression of greater climate benefits from renewable energy.
Yeah.
So if you're spending all this money on nuclear, you can't put in solar or wind. And solar or wind has more benefits and it's cheaper.
Nuclear energy costs more. And
in many ways.
If you want to solve the problem of climate change and you put your money into nuclear, you're only going to get about half the power or less that you would get for the same amount of money going into solar or wind.
I think right from the beginning, nuclear power was kind of a
fraud.
A hoax, a fraud,
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay, we're up to October 7th.
A nice
which
picture
is
here. I like this picture.
This is a beautiful picture. I called it The Sands of Time, which is
figure
not
out
the
how
title.
to get it up.
It's not
there
the
we
title.
go. By Jove, I think
There
he's
you
going.
go.
That tree looks kind of distressed.
It looks distressed, but
I don't know if the tree's living.
I
or
kind
dead.
of think that tree is living. And I
It
don't
could
even
very
know
well
how
be
distressed it is, because if you look at its branches, you can see that it's been in the wind for a long, long, long time.
For sure. That's
and
not a young tree.
That's not a young tree, and those branches have been trained the way they are by the wind.
By the wind,
over
absolutely.
a long period. This comes from phys.org, phys.org.
Trillions of extra economic damages predicted in new study of climate change effects.
The world is underestimating the economic effects of climate change by trillions of dollars. This is according to a study published in Nature Communication. The current economic forecasting models fail to take into account unpredictable variations in global temperatures.
This article I found kind of confusing, but what it's basically saying is the Earth's climate does not change smoothly and uniformly.
Right.
The study estimates the additional economic damage expected due to the fluctuations. Okay? Well, that's basically it.
In other words, if you're going to have your overall temperature go up by 2 degrees, the maximum temperature is not necessarily going to go up 2 degrees, and neither is the minimum. Things are going to be different than that, and the damage that's done can be far in excess of what you would expect.
That's basically what the article says. Yeah.
Okay, our next item is from Clean Technica. It has a
We got a nice
interesting
picture of a
looking
charging station here.
of a charging
That's
station.
an interesting picture.
Isn't it? And
The
you
bus
can,
is getting charged.
and you can see how that charging thing guides the apparatus that.
Well, that's not in America.
No, I don't think it is.
Oh, you can see license plates. Definitely.
They don't look like American license plates.
If FR means France, that's where it is.
What's that?
From the license plate.
What?
It's FR. So
Oh, it's FR.
That might mean it's France.
Could be.
Well, in any case, a Canadian initiative launched to cut electric bus charging costs. Well, I don't think that's Canada.
I think
know
you're
it's not
probably
Canada.
right. As a matter of fact, it looks like it's the UK. And the reason I say that is because what we're looking at here is a road that has all of the traffic going in the same direction, but it looks like on the other side of this stand there's more road.
Well, it looks like there's a train sitting over there.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. So it's a one-way street maybe. The Canadian Urban Transit Research and Innovation Consortium, which gives transit agencies technology support, launched a $999,000 investment, and I don't know
Why
whether
didn't they just say $1 billion?
well, I don't know whether this is Canadian or U.S. dollars either.
Okay.
But
Which
it's
makes a
almost $1
difference.
million in an initiative to reduce costs for charging electric buses. Ontario energy storage company eCamion is leading the project.
Well, camion is French for truck.
Why not?
By charging at night and discharging during the day when needed, these innovative battery-based energy storage systems will also lower electricity and operational costs while shrinking environmental footprints. Win, win, win.
Yep. Okay, our last item is from Streets Blog Mass.
And we got a picture here.
It has a
coming up.
picture which perplexed me mightily when I first saw it.
Yes, that's an interesting picture.
Well-
and they're hard to figure out how it works.
Yeah, those things that are coming up at an angle from the bottom and from the bottom right are vertical. The camera was tilted in a weird way on
Oh, now it makes a little more
this.
sense.
Yeah, and I resent greatly the fact that a person would take such a picture.
Well, that's a transit shelter roof in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah,
for
and
what
it
it's
can
worth.
stay in Portland, Oregon. What do you got for a
it's
title?
worth. New 100% clean energy contract will save the MBTA $3 million a year in electric bills. Now, that's local. That's Massachusetts.
I would take that picture for $3 million savings. The Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority is working on a multi-year electricity contract to power its trains, trolley buses, stations, and other facilities entirely on renewable power. The contract is expected to save $3 million a year.
That's very significant.
Yes.
Well, the T was what they call the Transportation Authority.
Yeah.
It's the state's biggest electricity consumer.
Yeah, this is the MTA, it used to be called,
Yeah.
which was
Poor
where
Charlie off
got
the
stuck.
MTA. It uses over 400 bigawatts,
There you
gigawatt hours of
Yeah.
electricity each year.
Okay.
And 3 suppliers have offered bids to take this load.
Yeah.
And the lowest, and this is very interesting, at $46.35 per megawatt hours. That's 4.5 cents.
4.5 cents per kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
This is,
And then what is it locally? 15 cents?
I think it's closer to 20. I think
Is it?
I
Well-
may actually be paying 20 because I've got pocket.
You're
cow
getting
power.
this- you're
I don't
getting-
pay attention because the whole thing gets folded into other things.
In my case, it's folded into my rent, so I
Yeah.
don't really know what they pay.
In my case, it's a little more complicated than that, but it's I want cow power, and I don't know what it is, but I know that it's
Well, this particular
above
switch is immediately expected to save the T's carbon footprint by about 1/3.
yeah.
So it's a win-win.
Tom, it is time to say goodbye.
I think it is.
And we want everybody to have a very enjoyable week. This says profoundly enjoyable. What is
a profoundly enjoyable week.
How do you have a profoundly enjoyable week?
You'll laugh a lot.
I guess.
Come back. Adios, people.